Strong as an ox! You're mine now!
With TI now well underway, one hero in particular has been charging into the meta unlike any other. He's quickly shaking up the professional meta and is rapidly becoming one of the most commonly picked and banned heroes among the entire roster, now also echoing all the way into the average pub game. This hero in question is none other than Spiritbreaker. Let's look at why he's so powerful right now, and why you should consider picking him up as a stable hero to practice and play. If you like videos such as this, I'd hugely appreciate a thumbs up and a follow here on my channel. I release weekly content and your support is what makes that possible. So why exactly is it that Spiritbreaker is suddenly making so much noise in the pro scene, and causing his pick rate and ban rate to rapidly increase? The hero itself is obscenely strong right now, and as he currently stands, he's being built unlike any other heroes within Dota 2, favoring items that provide a form of movement and utility. Since this is where his damage increases from greatly, he's able to be a complete nuisance against Black Game Bar, charge entire lineups of heroes constantly, and generally just be obnoxiously annoying in any skirmish or teamfight he's present in, due to his low cooldowns, insane tank ability and status resistance, as well as his constant stunning nature. Furthermore, due to his global presence, Spiritbreaker is always a threat to just about any hero as they reveal themselves. He's able to utilize his massive speed combined with items such as Shadow Blade to get the jump on any hero that dares to show themselves, especially when he's ahead in a game. This only rings equally true for creep waves. As he is being played in the pro scene right now, he's one of the best heroes at constantly shoving waves, whether he's ahead or behind, and is able to significantly delay the game if it helps him and his team. All of these benefits has put Spiritbreaker completely in the top as he stands right now. Play him as a position 3 or a position 4, and he'll have a serious impact against whoever he faces. Some heroes are difficult to skill and requires being crafty on the fly. Spiritbreaker, however, while you are able to change a few things up if you desire to, has a very streamlined and easy to follow build up in his skill build. Because this hero benefits from movement speed the way he does, the first thing we aim to max is going to be our Greater Bash passive. We want to max it as soon as we're able, and it is the skill we'll be acquiring first for the sake of laning. Following this, we'll be acquiring Church of Darkness every time we can't skill Greater Bash. And of course, skill ultimate whenever it's available. So by level 7, we'll have maxed out Greater Bash, 3 points in charge and 1 in the ultimate. Alternatively, a value point can be put in Bulldoze if the player feels it's important for the sake of survival. Certain heroes have a tremendous amount of either slow or stun, so if you do find yourself against something like a Treant Protector, a Crystal Maiden, or anything that can slow down your survival and speed, consider picking it up. As for the talents that best suit him, what I recommend are a toss-up between Armor and Night Vision at 10, Bulldoze cooldown at level 15, charge bonus speed or greater bash damage depending on what you need at 20, and greater bash chance at level 25. The only talent we really want to opt out of is his 40 damage one, but this is really because of how the hero plays around his speed, which equals the amount of damage he can do. The exciting part of Spiritbreaker, and what honestly makes him really interesting conceptually as a hero right now. Spiritbreaker essentially builds unlike any other hero in the roster right now, courtesy of scaling off his speed the way he does, in conjunction with proccing Greater Bash from it. With this being the case, our itemization on him is going to focus on durability, lowering his cooldowns, and ultimately, you guessed it, his movement speed. Professional player Collapse has showcased exactly just how mad this cow can really be with the right itemization, so let's follow along on how he usually builds it up. We already start off weird, because the first item we buy that stands out greatly when we play Spiritbreaker is Windlace. While this might be seen on a support from time to time, it's practically never something you see on a core. Considering the large amount of majority coming from movement speed, and how long it's going to be present in our inventory, it's a huge value for Spiritbreaker to get, so don't forget it. Next up, much like most other heroes, is Magic Wand. It pays for itself, has good stats, and also lets us generate both mana and health for our aggression. This is then soon followed by our boots of choice, which happens to be that of Face Boots. Face Boots offers the most reliable speed out of all the early boots, and the added armor just makes SB that much more annoying to deal with in general. Of note here is to make sure you utilize the item before a charge is made, especially when going on heroes or creeps for farming. The next most common item acquisition happens to be Midas. While this isn't a mandatory pickup, it happens to be really good on Spiritbreaker, especially due to his playstyle. The added attack speed can be just enough to cause Greater Bash to kill other heroes, and due to us wanting to be on the fly with him for large parts of the game, we can keep up a steady golden XP flow at all stages of the match with it. After this comes the big item that is beginning to define Spiritbreaker, and it happens to be Octarine Core. Octarine Core seriously takes care of most of Spiritbreaker's downsides. mainly his otherwise atrocious mana situation, fixing him up so he's able to charge a lot more frequently and recklessly, on top of buffing the already low cooldown on both charge and bulldoze. A huge shout out also comes to his shard, which provides him with the ability Planner Pocket. Planner Pocket is absolutely broken mathematically right now, giving Breaker an unbelievable amount of magic resistance for 6 seconds, on top of redirecting one spell. Get it between minute 15 and 20 every game. Following this item comes the all-annoying Shadow Blade. It's extremely obnoxious to face a Spirit Breaker with one, since it can be activated during Charge of Darkness, and forces the enemy to deal with it by virtue of planting sentries everywhere. It can also be upgraded into a Silver Edge later, if we require it for break for heroes such as Bristle or Phantom Assassin. We round the build out with a Black Game Bar, to make us that much harder to deal with, combining it with Charge of Darkness, near constant invisibility, and the status resistance that Bulldoze provides. And we're now an absolute wrecking ball able to rain complete terror on any team composition. With these items in check, you should be in a great winning position in any game. But there are some extended items that can seriously benefit SB if the game goes out longer. Aghanim Scepter seriously buffs his Charge of Darkness. While it's not as mandatory as it once was, it's still stupidly powerful, especially after we acquired the former items. Disperser has been showcased as being one of the more formidable items on Spirit Breaker. Due to its active, we're able to significantly increase the speed of the hero even further, which of course only will give us that much more damage. A last shout out also goes out to Wind Waker. The item holds a lot of utility for Spirit Breaker, and in combination with Octarine, it really becomes a mean pickup for him. It does of course also provide him with even more movement speed. With build and items in check, we need to lastly come over how to make the most out of Spirit Breaker in his average Dota 2 game. Starting out, it's really important to acknowledge the weakest aspect of Spirit Breaker, which actually happens to be his laning. His laning itself isn't inherently all too bad, but compared to the rest of the game, it certainly pales in comparison. And he isn't drafted due to how he dominates his desired lane either as a position 3 or 4 in the first minutes of a match. Primarily, we want to stay alive and well. With SB's base stat and kit, we're both seriously tanky and swift, so by using Charge of Darkness early, we can escape most sticky situations. It's also important to make the most of his passive for the sake of aggression. By being willing to be aggressive and take right-click fights with enemy supports and cores, you do have a chance of downright killing them when you're lucky enough, so don't be shy with showering them with plenty of right-click attacks. Level 6 and 7 and entering mid-game is where things really start picking up big time for us. We're now able to charge people and utilize our ultimate to set up kills on any hero revealing themselves, especially with follow-up. Try and be vocal with your team, either over a microphone or with pings. Let them know you're charging a target they're going on, or a target you want them to help you with. Keep playing in this aggro fashion whenever possible, and as soon as enemies start grouping up defensively, you can fall back and farm a bit more gold until they disperse and start going solo again. If you're ahead in a game, you want to keep up this pressure, but also be mindful of charging creep waves. You're able to constantly and effectively push lanes, especially after you picked up Octarine Core. So make sure that if your team doesn't desperately need you, that you're shoving waves whenever you have the opportunity. If you're behind, this only becomes so much more important. You might not be able to charge in and get kills reliably anymore, but you are able to force the enemy to deal with powerful split pushing. So make sure you break up the enemy team before you single out a target for a comeback. Continue this method of playing, and make stunning and disrupting as many heroes as possible your main objective. You need to charge in, you need to stun, and you need not to be afraid. Your entire hero is meant to engage and initiate by method of constantly running around and stunning. This should pave way for the rest of your team to wrap up the game, since your tower damage isn't exactly on the high side. Shut down the enemy completely, keep all their lanes pushed, until they have nowhere to hide but their very own high ground and base, where you can finally deal the killing blow to them. SB is actually a very technical hero at the moment, but he seriously thrives on how active Dota 2 is as a game right now. He's one of the most obnoxious heroes to play against, due to his nature of constantly stunning and having global presence for the entirety of a game. If you're on the fence about picking him up, I highly recommend that you give him a chance and add him to your roster of comfortable heroes. He's good, he's strong, and he's just a serious blast to play right now.